Okay, so the news broke a few days ago that Yakuza Kiwami is going to be ported to Nintendo Switch literally the day before the Yakuza television series premieres, which is on October 25th. So that means the television series is going to premiere on the 25th, and Yakuza Kiwami is going to be ported to the Switch console on the 24th. And I think it's about time that this is something that happened because the Yakuza Kiwami game came out back in 2016. It's pretty much a remake of the original Yakuza game, which came out back in 2005. And I still feel like the original version of Yakuza from '05 is one that's highly underrated, didn't get the type of recognition that it deserved because of how different the landscape of gaming was back in the day. And and honestly, like the trailer looked impressive graphically. It's the Switch console is obviously not as powerful as the PlayStation 4, but it still looks very fun to play. There's a lot to do. Um, and I do feel like like the open world in Tokyo is something that would blow a lot of people's mind. Being able to have like four different fighting styles, and then you have like you have like a pretty good story that's about I guess it's about falling and redemption and all that. And it's actually pretty dark, but then there's a lot to do in the game. You have like I guess you have like side missions, you have mini games. The voiceover acting in that game is impressive as well. And I think Yakuza Kiwami is pretty much like it's a remake of the 2005 game, which came out back in, I believe, like it came out for like the PS2, but then the gameplay is similar to that of Yakuza O, which came out back in, I think it was like 2014 or 2015. But but yeah, I mean, I do feel that having a game like this is something that would make more like Switch owners like more interested in general in the series, because I do feel that if we have this game on the Switch console, then maybe Sega will probably bring more Yakuza games to the Switch console if this game does well in terms of sales. And that's something that's also a possibility considering the fact that the Switch console is towards the end of its life cycle. And I think all of the best first party Switch games came out like years ago. I would say between 2017 and 2019, like the best Switch games came out, like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. You had Breath of the Wild, which came out in 2017. Um, like some of the best Nintendo Switch games like came out between like 2017 and 2019, 2020. And I do feel like this is a time for third party titles to shine on the Switch console more than anything. And a lot of people, including myself, felt like, if Sega was ever to bring like a Yakuza game to a Nintendo console, they'd probably wait until they release their next generation game system because they're most likely going to do that in 2025. And I do feel like this particular game is probably going to be the first of many Yakuza games that we get to see on Nintendo consoles, because I don't think like the last couple of Yakuza games ended up on the Switch console for the most part. Like the Yakuza game from 2020 was ported for just about every game system but the Nintendo Switch, and the latest Yakuza game, Infinite Wealth, wasn't released for the Switch console either. So it's a possibility that we can end up getting more Yakuza games on the Switch 2 sometime in the future, but I think it'll heavily depend on how well this particular game does in terms of sales on the Switch console. But in general, I do feel like the Yakuza series is more popular than it was during the 2000s and throughout most of the teens decade. I do feel like it's getting the type of mainstream exposure that it should have gotten like at least a decade ago. And I do feel that the Yakuza series is probably going to eventually be up there with Sonic the Hedgehog in terms of popularity. I don't expect it to happen anytime soon, but I feel like slowly and, over time, like, the Yakuza series is going to become more and more popular, because I feel like the franchise has the right genre and the stories are really good. There's stories that resembles something that you would see in real life, or stories that kind of reflect something you would see in an action adventure movie or whatever. So I do feel that the Yakuza series is only going to get more popular between now and the rest of the 2020s decade.